Hey there, Mary here from Mary's Heirloom Seeds, and welcome to our weekly Thursday Live. And I'm finally here on a Thursday. The last 2 weeks we've had to reschedule for one reason or another, but today I'm finally here on a Thursday, right on time, 5 p.m. Central Time here in East Texas. So I'll give you guys a couple seconds to come join me. Get yourself a comfortable chair, tea, coffee, water, beverage of choice, and welcome. I am Mary from Mary's Heirloom Seeds. So for those of you who are brand new, welcome. For those of you who join me weekly, welcome and thank you for joining me again. If you are new to our channel and if you haven't subscribed, please do so when you get a chance. I'm hoping that you can see me clearly and not pixelated or anything. Hey James, thanks for joining us. Behind me here is some of our Three Sisters garden, one of our Three Sisters garden beds, I should say. Let me see real quick. Okay, awesome. If you have any questions, so this is just a random Q&A session. If you have questions, specifically seed or garden related questions, please feel free to ask. Hey, Robert, congratulations, by the way, you won our recent gift certificate. So if you have any random questions, now's the time to ask. If you're not comfortable asking it during a live video, or hey, David, thanks for joining us. Or if you aren't signed in to a YouTube account or anything, hey, Nate, thanks for joining us. You can always send an email to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. I answer questions every day from brand new gardeners, from seasoned gardeners, people with just random seed questions that maybe they're just getting started. Thank you, David. This is our Three Sisters garden bed that we did in the video on our YouTube channel. If you notice, I've put chicken wire up. So if you have been following our mama hen baby chick saga, a couple weeks ago, I want to say 2 weeks ago, maybe 3, I was out in the garden and I saw this cream colored chicken, and she was a small chicken, and there were 9 little teeny baby chicks, and it was so cute because you see her fluff up her wings and there's a little bunch of little legs sticking out from under. So I have named her Peaches. Let's see, Garden Girl, if you cut zinnia flowers, you can save the seeds and plant it when the flower dries up. I'm leaving these for a little while because I want to save the seeds from them. Yes, when they do grow up. This is zinnia mix. It's a shorter variety. It's perfect for the edge of this garden. So anyway, Mama Hen showed up. I named her Peaches because, you know, I don't really name farm animals. Not usually anyway, because then I get attached to them and then I get sad if something happens. And anyway, so Mama Peaches showed up, 9 babies. She's wandering around the side of the property. She's not mine. I don't know where she came from. She either came from the previous property owners, the property across the way, or the property next door. So we all have, you know, medium-sized parcels here, and a lot of people have chickens. So I was out here and Mama Peaches and her babies destroyed a couple of my seedlings over here when I had just planted. This is an okra crop. Behind, on the other side of the on the other side of the corn, there's a whole lot growing. You just can't see it because it's in the background. But they destroyed some amaranth and some okra. So I put up this little baby fence. Now, in general, this little baby fence is not going to keep chickens out. However, usually, yeah, I still let them grow out in the garden because I would rather have them out here. So one little thing about that, I don't usually do cut flowers inside. I would love to have cut flowers inside, but as David knows, I have a destroying cat. He's a very sweet boy. His name is Jojo, but we call him Jojo the Destroyer, and he will eat it. And I don't believe zinnia is toxic to cats, but it still makes them barf, and I really don't want to have to clean it up. So usually I enjoy flowers outside, and I don't usually bring them inside. But I do cut flowers and give them away if I have people that are for whatever occasion. Anyway, so back to the fence. This little baby fence is not going to keep chickens out. So I'll give you a little heads up on that. I know I will have a video of Jojo coming up. So David, if you saw my recent video on corn, we're doing a food storage prepping in the garden series, and corn was my most recent video. I actually had to refilm the entire video because I had the door shut and Jojo was banging on the door like crazy, and you can literally hear the whole time I was doing the video. So we will have another video with Jojo very soon. As it cools down, we'll be doing a little more gardening tutorials and things like that for fall, but we'll be doing some inside ones for recipes during our lives coming up when it gets cooler. It did finally cool down. It was in the 80s today instead of the high 90s. And I actually was considering going live inside because we were supposed to get like a half an inch to an inch of rain today, and we got zilched. We were supposed to get a half inch yesterday. We got zilch. So one of these days we'll get rain again. But for now, we are watering our garden. So if you have any questions, like I said, hey, Melissa, thanks for joining us. If you have any garden-related questions or seed-related questions, I am happy to help. My live videos are usually stationary. So for those of you who are newer to Mary's Heirloom Seeds, we don't have the best connection. We are very rural here. So my action videos where I'm moving around in the garden are filmed. And then, well, I should say they're recorded and then posted. Whereas my live videos, I kind of have to stay in the same spot. Now, David says, I got a question about what type of nutrients and soil amendments are great to put down this fall. All right, so that's a great question. In general, I am less scared or weird about random flying insects now because in East Texas, there's lots of flying insects. Larry says your connection sucks too. I know. So I'm really limited to as close as I can possibly get to my connection. I just started fall garden and planted some zucchini. It looks like it's starting to get powdery mildew. I will answer that question as well. So for fall nutrients, honestly, unless you had a nutrient deficiency specifically in your garden, so if you were lacking nitrogen or if you were lacking calcium, for example, if you plant radishes and they grow really spindly and they don't create a root, chances are you have a calcium deficiency. And everybody's fall gardens are going to be different. David, I know you're in an area that has a shorter growing season. So for fall, you're probably going to be amending possibly for now, but also for next year. If you didn't have any nutrient deficiencies, generally a good all-in-one would be great. But again, if you had specific nutrient deficiencies like calcium or something like that, calcium would be oyster shell, compost, of course. I always add compost to my garden. Manure. I really miss having a fresh supply of horse manure because I had a giant pile of it in Ramona, and we would let it sit there and age, and then we would add it to our gardens, allow it to sit for a little longer, and then let it keep going. So that was a big plus. Okay, so Garden Girl asks about powdery mildew. There's a recipe you can use that is milk, and I will find it for you. But powdery mildew is kind of a tough one. So a couple things you can do. If you have powdery mildew on your leaves, go ahead and remove the leaves and throw them in the trash. Do not put them in your compost pile. Take whatever scissors or hand tools you used to clip those leaves and sterilize them when you're done. From there, you can treat with things like milk. I forget what it... I have a whole article on our website. If you look on our website, marysheirloomseeds.com, you can use the search option and just enter powdery mildew. But after this video, I will share the link in the comment section of this video. I will share the link to our recipe for powdery mildew. Off the top of my head, the only thing I can think of is milk, but I know there's something else. I will get to that. Prevention of powdery mildew is important as well. Usually you're getting powdery mildew on your plants because you're watering on the top instead of watering the soil. And then also if you have a lot of rain, it's not like you can say, hey, Mother Nature, slow down. I'm getting powdery mildew here. So you just kind of have to deal with the powdery mildew you get if you just have a lot of rain. I know I had a really big problem with powdery mildew when we were in South Florida, because of course it's humid and there's rain all the time. So it was really hard to kind of keep the powdery mildew under control. So again, trim those leaves as soon as you see it, and then treat the leaves that you don't trim. And like I said, I'll share that with you in a little bit. I'm getting kind of situated here. I love this place, by the way. I was standing out here. I kind of took a couple minutes before my live to kind of calm down. I tend to get really jazzed up about stuff, and I'm super excited about life in general. But then it's nice to come out here and just sit and listen. And you hear geese and roosters on that side, and you hear roosters and on this side, and then you had mama hen. There's another one, by the way. There's an orange one. I call her Marmalade. Like I said, I don't really usually name farm animals, but hey, they're actually not mine, but they may have adopted me. So there's that. Seed questions. If you have them, throw them at me. If you have a specific question, send an email. David said, I'll have to watch the last few minutes of video. I'm making pumpkin roll tonight with fresh pumpkin. Holy goodness, that sounds delicious. Is it like a cake pumpkin roll? Because that's like insanely delicious. I will have a lot of recipes coming up. We have a couple of our food storage videos coming up as well. So if you're new to Mary's Heirloom Seeds on our YouTube channel, I have recently been doing a series on food storage prepping in the garden. So the initial videos are specifically ones that you can grow it and harvest it without having to do major preservation methods such as canning. Hey, Jesse joined us too. I had to switch from my phone to your laptop to comment, but I ran off the bus to make it to the live. Hopefully you put your bus in park before you jumped out of your bus. Anyway, thank you for joining me, Jesse. Jesse's one of our regulars as well. So I will have more fall recipes. I do love recipes. My sister is way more amazing at taking pictures of her recipes than I am. Mine aren't like restaurant quality, but my sister, who's a pastry chef, has some amazing plating abilities that I don't. Yeah, I'll put it in. Oh, hang on. Sorry. I missed your comment. I'll put the batter in the tray and roll it up with cream cheese. Now you're making me hungry. Okay, so I will have some more recipes, yes. If you are looking for some random recipes, if you go to marysheirloomseeds.com and you search harvest recipes, or you go to Mary's blog, they're tagged as harvest recipes, so you can always use that as well. Thank you very much. This is one of our gardens. So here on our homestead, if you're new, of course, need to look up your Three Sisters Garden video. Okay, so let me give you a little bit of information. We just moved to East Texas. We arrived on June 20th. We broke ground in our garden on June 29th. If you want to follow this whole adventure that we've been having, check out our previous videos. So we broke ground on June 29th. I planted seeds July 1st. And here we are September 30th. And we have multiple gardens here on this property. So the first video of breaking ground, that's what I call my kitchen garden. So that's when I'm growing all the stuff that I'm eating. And there's a couple things that I'm growing in there for seed saving. But in order to keep certain varieties from cross-pollinating, you have to give them a certain distance to keep them from cross-pollinating. There's isolation methods, and then there's just a distance method. So I'm utilizing several of those. And don't ask me specifics on distance right now, because I have it all written down so that I don't forget. But off the top of my head, there's so many different random garden facts right now that I can't remember all of them. So we have a kitchen garden. And I did show a random video on a Saturday of the kitchen garden, but the connection was terrible. It was super rough and pixely. So like I said, I got to do my lives sitting in one spot so that I get better connection. So we broke ground. We started harvesting patty pan squash at 42 days from seed. And that video is titled 42 Days. And then I have another video for the Three Sisters garden. So this one is a little different. I started the video and I already had the corn growing. I already had the squash growing. And in the video I mentioned I was going to do rattlesnake pole beans. But then I realized that I already had a legume growing here specifically to save the seeds. And I didn't want to put rattlesnake pole beans in and run the risk of having them cross-pollinate. So the rattlesnake pole beans went into a different garden, and I'm gonna have to update this Three Sisters garden pretty soon. And the other part of that is using sweet corn isn't necessarily the best option for a Three Sisters garden, specifically because it's not as strong. Lana says, do you have a plan to keep grass out of your garden beds? I have a couple front yard gardens, just some vinyl edging. It's a continual battle to keep out. So in the past, I've always grown in raised beds. If you've seen some of my older videos, we were in Ramona, California, and we had gophers, bad. So 100% of our gardens were in raised beds and containers. So we really had zero garden grass issues. Now here, while I'm not a huge fan of tilling because it disrupts your soil organisms, it really isn't the best for your soil health to till. However, since this garden area had never been grown in and I have no idea what type of soil I'm dealing with here in East Texas, I tilled. We tilled about 1,200 square feet out in my kitchen garden, and then each different garden in the different properties we've tilled or put in raised beds. So over on the other side, I've got raised beds. We've got okra. I've got a new type of squash growing in there. I've got a lot of lettuce greens growing in there, and that's another seed bed. So that's in a raised bed, and then this one is in the ground. I don't necessarily have an option other than remove it up front or add some cardboard and build up. So in the part of the garden on the back side, what I did was I laid cardboard down and then I put a raised bed on top of it. And that's not the best option, but it's what I have to work with right now. So like I mentioned, we just got here in June. So 3 months, we've been here 3 months and a week. That's it. And we've already got so much growing. So I can't really complain about the different methods I've used because it's all an experiment. I know how to grow. I've grown in South Florida. I've grown in Southern California, and now we're growing in East Texas. And all of them have their different obstacles, and all of them have their different climates and growing schedules. So your best bet, if you have grass, is if you have a time where you're not going to be growing in. So if you're in an area where you're not going to be growing in winter, I highly recommend doing something like adding cardboard down and then add stuff on top of it, like mulch or compost or something that's going to keep it down. One word of caution: I don't ever use cardboard close to the house or close to our structure. Any structure, whether it's the seed shop, the well house, or the house. I don't use cardboard directly around the house because I don't want any kind of critter infestation to get inside our structure. Okay, so that's That's one of the things that I always stress about using things like cardboard. It can, if you don't do it properly, it can collect critters underneath, like ants, roaches, maybe even termites if you're using, if you use mulch. So depending on where you get your mulch, you might be bringing in pests. So I would recommend not using it around your structures. And by structures, like I said, house, shop, well house. I don't use any cardboard or mulching right there because I don't want to have to deal with pests later on. But if you have a garden bed that's not a raised bed, I would recommend putting something down to cover that up so that you don't have to worry about it at a later time. I hate pulling weeds. I hate pulling grass. It's frustrating. It's time consuming. It's annoying, but I'm also not going to use an herbicide. So I would rather do the back-breaking work of pulling those weeds than contaminating my soil and poisoning myself and my family. So if you can do something like solarizing or cardboard, heavy mulching, that will really help cut down on some of the weeds. So this area here is about, I don't know, 4 foot by 20 foot, something like that. And I tilled the area, and it didn't have a lot of grass, I will say that. Then I pulled every single piece of grass that I could out of this area. It was a lot of work. I'll be honest. It was definitely a lot of work. I was sweaty and stinky and gross by the time I was done, but it was worth it. And then I covered this in compost. So I actually had a little funny post on my Facebook page months ago when I first started this, like how many wheelbarrows full did it take? So for this area, it was a lot of work, but it was worth it because I got a lot of stuff growing in here. So anyway, long story made longer. If you have weeds in your garden area, your best bet is to just solarize or something similar to it, like cardboard or heavy mulching for the winter. And that should really cut down on weeds. The other one is pull them before they go to seed. If you allow weeds to reseed, they will continue to go all over the place. So just a random tips from Mary out in the garden today. Anyway, so it's almost dinner time. Thank you very, very much for joining me. I really appreciate it. So for those of you who don't comment on the video, but you are watching, maybe you aren't signed into your YouTube channel or YouTube account, so you can't comment. If you do have questions, I can answer them right away in an email, or I can answer them on my next video. Please send an email to mary@marysheirloomseeds.com. We have a seed sale. Did you know that? If you are signed up to receive our weekly emails, you would have received one about 30 minutes ago. Just before I went live, I sent out a video, or I sent out a link. We have a massive seed sale going on right now. Seeds starting at $1 per pack. Some awesome stuff going on here at Mary's Heirloom Seeds. We've got some updates we sent out in the email. New arrivals will be added to our website this month, and they will be available to ship out November 1st. We are currently shipping out orders really fast. It says 2 to 3 days, but most orders are shipping out in 2 days or less right now. The post office is changing their shipping, so it's going to take a little longer if you choose free shipping or UPS or USPS. Anyway, all that stuff was in the email. If you haven't already signed up for our email, I highly recommend it because we've got some updates coming up very soon. You can go to our website, which is marysheirloomseeds.com. You can sign up for our email list there. You scroll all the way to the bottom of our website and it says newsletter, enter your information, and you're all set. I am Mary from Mary's Heirloom Seeds signing off. I'm going to go make some delicious dinner and some veggies from our garden. Like I said, if you have any questions, send an email. If you haven't already subscribed, please feel free to subscribe to our YouTube channel. And on Sunday is when we have our food storage prepping in the garden videos published. And I hope you enjoy them. Thanks for joining me once again. I'm Mary at Mary's Heirloom Seeds signing off, and happy planting.